Education meeting, Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, here at the high school auditorium. After our call to order, I'd like to start with a roll call, please, Tammy.
Jack.
Aye.
Ron Liberty.
Here.
Kendra Osmus. Here. John Smith.
Here.
Maria Volpe. Brett Waller.
Here.
Linda Yingling. Here. Todd Zashak. Kevin Blake.
Here. Please join me as you're able to stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the Merrill Area Public Schools Board of Education meeting. MAPS respects the role our elected board members serve and the function of our board meetings. Board members and administrators are committed to working collaboratively to provide our students a safe learning environment and the highest level of achievement. This meeting is a formal event and professional conduct is the expectation for all in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. First item on our agenda this evening is public comments to the board. Just as a reminder to everyone, we do allow up to 15 minutes at the beginning of each regular board meeting for members of the public to speak. Speakers are allocated or allotted 3 minutes to address the board. If you have a large group, please designate one representative to speak for your group. Just as a reminder also that we appreciate your participation in the school board meeting this evening. Public comment period is an important time for the board to hear the concerns of its constituents. Nevertheless, prior to making a statement during public comment period, you may wish to consider whether the content of your speech could be harmful to an individual person, and if so, whether that person could have a legal claim against you related to the statement you make this evening. We have been advised that the Wisconsin Supreme Court has specifically ruled that there is no absolute privilege which protects defamatory comments by speakers at board meetings such as this. Therefore, please be aware that each speaker bears the personal risk if anything he or she says during the public comment period of a school board meeting is defamatory, slanderous, or otherwise harmful to another individual. Thank you. At this time, I do have one public comment form. I'd like to invite to the microphone Stacy Kleinschmidt and Lisa Haas.
Hello, my name is Lisa Haas. I teach fourth grade at Washington Elementary.
And my name is Stacy Kleinschmidt. I teach kindergarten at Washington Elementary.
We are here today to address you in regards to staff salaries for the upcoming school year.
Teachers have once again been asked to sign a contract with a 0% increase. According to an email from Eddie Benton, there are tentative plans to discuss wage increases for the 21-22 school year at the upcoming HR Finance Committee in June. In this email, he states the delay is due to unknowns about health insurance. However, we now know that our family deductible will increase by $1,000, and unless you choose the narrow network, the premium will also increase by $1,000. This insurance increase will lead to a cut in salary for many employees, and the district continues its current practice of adding only 1% to the salary structure. So we are asking that all staff receive a percentage increase for the upcoming school year that will be more aligned with the CPI, cost of living, and insurance increases. There are districts in the area that not only are giving their staff salary increases, but also one-time stipends of $500 or more to show their appreciation to their staff.
Our teaching staff is highly committed and dedicated to our students. We stood apart from many of the surrounding schools because on day one of this school year, September 1st, we were face-to-face with our students. We have provided the school year face-to-face, virtual, and at times both in a hybrid situation this school year. We have gone above and beyond and feel that we have earned this salary increase. We thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Stacy, Lisa, This evening, I'd like to start with the board recognizing both our departing student board representative, Levi Black, and our returning board representative for next year, Amelia Scovera, for their service. I believe Levi is at another engagement, but if Amelia is here and could come up to the stage, we appreciate that. Thanks again, Amelia. Next, the board would like to recognize this evening Megan Sherman, who secured a $10,000 Mimik Foundation for the Future of Education grant for Cape Goodrich Elementary School to use for technology. We are very proud of your hard work and efforts that Megan put into securing this foundation grant and its contribution to the district. Megan, were you able to join us this evening? If so, thanks again, Megan. Concluding our recognition, we'd like to move on for planning for next year with the new student school board representative for the 2021-2022 school year. This time, if I could have Isaiah Merrill step up to the microphone and if he would introduce himself to everybody in attendance this evening, please.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Merrill. I'm currently a sophomore at Merrill High School. Next year I'll be a junior. I'm in activities in basketball, track, robotics club, along with Junior Optimist, and I'm excited for this new opportunity that I'll have next year.
Thank you, Isaiah. Welcome. At this time, I would call on Amelia Scovera for our Student Board of Education Representative Report.
Okay, so this spring, although many seasons have been shortened for sports, people are grateful to participate in sports, and they have been quite successful. This spring, we have had a full lineup of softball and baseball, golf and girls soccer, and track and field, which is a miracle with no quarantines for the whole team. Students have really been able to get involved in their sports this year, not only just to participate, but, for example, Wednesday and Friday of this week, athletes have been able to help work the 4th through 7th grade track days and inspire new athletes to join. Graduation and senior awards night is coming up quick. The seniors this year are getting even more excited about graduation, and it gets ever closer. Students who have worked hard will be receiving scholarships and awards and will be able to have them presented on the 26th at awards night, and will finally be able to graduate on the 25th. While seating is limited at both events, we are confident and excited for a successful end to this year. Another date approaching fast is prom. This is this 22nd. To get an estimate of numbers and limit the number of people coming, the high school sold tickets differently. All students who purchased a ticket had to fill out a form acknowledging they would wear their mask and social distance and adhere to all the rules. Also, each prom attendee only got 2 tickets for the Grand March. The Grand March kicks off at 6, and the dance will start directly after. Overall, everyone is very excited to attend, even with the restrictions. And the last day of school and finals are next week. Students will have a normal school day on Monday, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, finals will start. These finals will have extended classes, so each day will only have about 3 classes, giving enough time for teachers to give their finals. Thursday will be the last day for everyone to make up or take exams. And AP tests this year went very well, and we would like to commend the people that put in so much effort to make them happen. This year, AP tests started on the May 4th with the calculus test and ended on the 17th with the statistics test. Many students are happy with all of the options afforded to them and enjoy taking AP classes at Merrill High. Even though Levi can attest the calculus test was not easy. Also, as we are talking about new school years, the Link Crew leaders and counselors went to the middle school on May 7th for their annual Link Crew May Day, where they got to do different activities with the 8th graders and kind of show them some of the nice people that will be there at the high school next year and just answer and ease some of their worries.
Excellent, thank you, Amelia. Does any school board members have any questions on Amelia's presentation this evening? All right, thank you, Amelia.
Thank you.
Next, we have the administrative reports, just a quick procedural update on that. These administrative reports have all been presented at committees or been asked to provide data for our monthly meetings. We've all had an opportunity to review them and ask questions of the administration. So instead of going line by line on each administrative report, I'm going to still turn things over to Dr. Sample. People can ask, board members can ask questions if they have not had them answered or would like that on the record. And then at the end, he will summarize his superintendent's report for the month. So at this time, I will turn the meeting over for administrative report section to Dr. Sample.
Thank you, Kevin. Below you will find the administrative reports as provided to you last week. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of these reports?
Committees attached were the new committee appointments made by myself. Also, per our bylaw 0155, the board annually approves the superintendent's committee membership appointments during the regular board meeting following the annual reorganizational meeting. So that will be this evening. There is an attachment from Dr. Sample and a recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? John?
I recommend a motion to approve the appointments made by the superintendent for committee membership for the 2021-2022 school year.
A motion by John Smith. Do we have a second? Second by Ron Liberty. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. The next agenda item under committee reports or action is to review the legislative committee and curriculum advisory council for relevance and possible elimination. This agenda item was placed here this evening at board members' request. To summarize the situation, we have 2 particular groups, a committee and a council that in essence have been absorbed by other committees, or that is the feeling of board members. So I would look for either a motion or some dialogue to review this topic this evening. anyone have any opinions as board members on this topic? Mr. Smith?
I'll make a motion to eliminate the legislative committee and the curriculum advisory committee, and then respectively place their responsibilities in the human resource finance committee and the CPT committee.
We have a motion by John Smith. Do we have a second? Second by Brett. Do we have any discussion or questions on this motion or this topic?
Committees that we've been put on.
Could you repeat your question? I didn't hear all.
I said, are we going to be adding some certain different committees? Because now some of us are getting removed from the committees that we just got assigned to.
The intention of this, and I guess you can ask Mr. Smith and Mr. Waller, but my understanding was in the last calendar year, the legislative committee has not met outside of a committee of a whole. And the Curriculum Advisory Council ended up reviewing the data through the CTP committee. So you'll find a lot of continuity between the CTP committee and that council. And the members of the CTP committee were called upon if there was any curricular needs or reviewing any pilot programs. If our curriculum director, Glenda, or Dr. Sample had reviewed that. So really, I don't see that as a removal. Those committee assignments through CTP, you would be the first ones looked for in that role still. It would just not be on there as a official council.
Okay, just wondering because it is on our committee assignment sheets here, it's the district committee assignments. We do have that on there, so we probably shouldn't even put that on there in the first place.
So the reason we did that, Linda, was because we did not have a vote or motion yet. It was just speculation at an organizational meeting. So I assigned that in case the majority of the board said we should keep them.
So will that sheet be updated then?
Yes, it will.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions in regards to that motion or this topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item under the committee reports section is the facilities committee. We did have the attached draft minutes from the May 5th committee meeting. Myself as chair and other members of the facilities committee are available for questions. Any board members have questions for the facilities committee this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to the Finance HR Committee. We had the attached draft minutes from the May 5th committee meeting. John Smith, as chair of the committee, and other members of that committee are available for questions. Any board members have any questions for the Finance HR Committee this evening? Hearing none, we have a CTP, or Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee, and we have the attached draft minutes from the May 12th committee meeting. Members of the CTP committee are available to answer any questions. Do we have any questions for our CTP committee this evening? All right, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. The order of business there is on health insurance with an attached topic summary sheet from Committee then. The recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
Recommend motion to approve the Aspires Health Plan presented as option 1 with a $2,000, $4,000 deductible, and both a broad and narrow network option with a 12% and 8.5% contribution contribution rates respectively for all staff for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
We have a motion by Brett. Do we have a second? A second by Ron. Do we have any discussion or question on this motion or topic? Go ahead, Linda.
So, I don't know if this is the place to do it, but we're gonna raise the health insurance, correct? But yet, we're not gonna be doing any raises. So, how can our teaching staff, employees make it go with only leaving a paycheck of $400 a month for certain people? So, I mean, kind of what the ladies were speaking here. If we're not going to give them any raises, how are they going to be able to afford health insurance, let alone living here? So people are going to leave. So are we kind of, putting the cart before the horse? Maybe we should talk about raises first and then increase insurance, or do it all together as one big deal? That's my question. I mean, because if you want to keep staff, quality staff here, we got to be giving them something else when we increase other things for them. That's just, I guess a comment, I guess.
Eddie, could you come to the microphone and answer that question? It is apparently a two-part question regarding the timing of our discussion in this motion on health insurance, and the second part tied to the raises in the order we look at things.
Because the way it seems that it's like we're not going to discuss raises until next month's meeting, but we're going to do this first because we have to wait to see where the health insurance is coming in. So, is that truly actually, fair?
Okay. Do you guys hear me? Yeah. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Give me just 1 second. I'm pulling this up on the screen for you real quick. Okay. All right. So really quick with regards to just the process, raises, things like that. So raises are tentatively going to be discussed next month. So I don't know if there's rumors out there or whatnot. It's on the docket to be discussed. And the original budget projection for Brian Asher back in February had that included in it. They also had projected a 9% health insurance increase. So I don't know if there's speculation that there won't be one or something, but anybody who has emailed me, I've told them it is to be discussed at the HR Finance next month. So it's just unenrolled at this point. This was a big wild card because we had, depending on what time frame you looked at, for our losses in the last year and a half roughly, you had between 110 and 120% loss ratio, and we did not know to what extent we'd have to, possibly dig into funds to try to maintain some level of reasonable benefits. One of the things that the committee did back earlier in the fall, I would venture to say somewhere around November, before I went out and spoke with staff at each of the buildings and did some virtual presentations, was looking at where our benefits were relative to other districts. And I know we did a pretty deep dive on a lot of the data at that point to kind of know where we stood, so we knew we didn't want to necessarily lose a bunch of ground or slide backwards, so to speak. But we wanted to make sure we had that cushion to address insurance before we address raises, so that's just been the order of the process. Excuse me. The other side of it, really quick, just to make sure everybody was looking at the spreadsheet a little bit that is in the attachments. And this isn't red for any particular reason. I know red is like a punitive color. Red is just the color to draw it out. So everybody's reading this and understanding it. Right now, people are looking at, and if you focus on this column right here, this per check. So right now, people pay, if they're in a single plan, $61, or they pay about $140 each paycheck for insurance. That's their contribution. If you look at what, if we just stayed status quo, they were offering about a 16% increase, and the original budget projection, like I said, we were trying to get into no more than a single-digit increase, to say the least. So we looked at options that got us down to those single digits, and when you look at the option that we finally arrived at, this is an option that's going to do exactly what you're
concerned with. It's going to help those folks who do have staff who are not taking home $500 on a paycheck, and this will help those staff. If they're on a family plan, it should add $100 a month roughly to their monthly income. So this being able to work with Aspirus gives us that additional flexibility to offer two plans. Unfortunately, WA didn't, it doesn't allow for two plans like that. They don't offer a narrow network. You just get that one broad network. In order to get WA down to a single-digit increase, these are the numbers you'd be looking at. And as you can see, 67 and 152 are incredibly close to the Aspirus plan for a quote-unquote very comparable network, in the sense that the broad network can go pretty much wherever. But like I said, with the Aspirus, we're able to offer this additional option, help those folks out who maybe don't want to spend quite as much, still get great coverage, and most importantly, 75% of our claims right now are going through Aspirus or Ascension anyways. So there's really some good fit, logic, rationale to be doing business with them. They also have options in the future in terms of self-funding and things like that. So does that address some of those concerns?
I think it kind of answers some of mine, but I don't know if it answers some of our employees' concerns, but I don't know how many people can actually live off of $600 a month. Not very many. It would be just not reasonable for anybody to live off of $600 a month. You got your rent, your house, your food, taking care of your family, plus your health insurance. By the end of the day, you got nothing. But I mean, this is the insurance that we're being offered. I just don't know if it's the right decision before we know what we're getting for raises, but that's just me.
Either way, it's better than, if you were looking for a more affordable option, it's better than what we have currently in that regard. Because we don't, right now, like I said, if you're a family plan, if you have kids or a spouse or whatever, you have no choice but to pay $140 every paycheck if you want health insurance. So.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and that was the 600, 500 is per check, not per month. Yeah. Anything else?
We have a couple follow-up questions for Eddie.
Can you explain, this evening I heard something about 1% and 0%. We have a salary schedule that was collaboratively built over the years, and inside that salary schedule are steps that have significant, wage adjustments that equate to a percentage in and of themselves. I mean, if you add the step plus whatever the annual adjustment is, that's the total percentage increase. Have we abandoned steps when it comes to wages, or where does 0% come from?
I don't know where the zero comes from. There's, again, if you want to look at it, we can, but the comp plan is what the comp plan has been. And if you look at the board has approved last 2 years, I think the 1% in terms of the actual cell increases. And then outside of those cell increases is everything between 1 and 3.5% right now. So the smallest percentage increase, and be careful with our terminology here because it depends on where you are in the process or in the scale. I'll pull this up really quick because that'll help understand it a little bit. But if you are, for example, a teacher who's got at the top cell or bottom, depending on how you feel, the highest paid, the 1% is what would be ultimately coming to, because you're not allowed to move a step. You're at the end of the line, so to speak, with regards to movement. Now, if you are anywhere else, the minimum percentage the last couple of years has been 2% up to 4.5%. So those are kind of the ranges depending on what you're looking at. Now, if you look at what 2% is on $41,000 versus what 1% is on 72 or 3, the amounts actually are pretty close. Granted, yes, the percentages are different, but again, that kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective of what's going on. So it's just how it was designed, and it's doing what it was designed to do.
I think last couple of years, once the percentages were determined, there were prospectives given to the committee that not only included the total spend, which $600,000 rings a bell that was added to the budget for wage adjustments. But also then the overall percentage, is that something I can ask that goes to committee next time around, so that there's not only the one line item view that gets populated as a percent, but then the impact of all the shifts that is embedded in the salary schedule itself.
Yes, and here I actually got it, I forgot to hit the color. The percentages are actually on the website, so you can see what the percentages are depending on where you are in the grand scheme of things, and whatever the board did for cells is in addition to those percentages.
Yeah, then based on who we have employed in the time in each position, that determines the kind of collective percentage that the district issues on a whole. That would be a number that the committee would like to see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Kendra, and then I will go back to you, Linda. Go ahead, Kendra.
Yeah. Lenny, do you have a time constraint in regards to securing the insurance quote?
I would say yes. You're gonna want to, if you have any intentions of changing, we've got a tight timeline. We are kind of working behind the scenes to make sure that we have information go out to staff right away, because I know people are really wanting to get their hands on it. We didn't send out tons of information yet, just because it's not official until it's official. But basically, we're going to find have meetings next week. If this is approved tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 2 will be in person, 1 will be virtual. We might do a follow-up meeting after school is over for folks who are retirees. But we will also record the virtual meetings so that folks who couldn't attend one of the live meetings, they've got a way to kind of get access to the information. But the vendor needs the info roughly by mid-June at the latest, and able to make sure that people get their cards and they're ready to go and see a doctor on 7/1 and have the doctor actually be able to process the claim.
But does the quote actually expire in a certain time frame?
The quote does not expire to my knowledge. I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. And I know I had set up a meeting with you and I felt it was very informative because I had questions about the insurance. And out of all of the options, I think that this was the most fair based upon the loss ratio that the district had. I think the other ones that we looked at were quite significant of an increase, if I'm correct with that.
Yeah, a number of the other bids were like 20%, 60%, 24%, I think across Blue Shield was, so, yeah, and we pushed actually. What ended up happening was in searching and pursuing the notion of a captive, that just kind of using that as leverage in the kind of bidding and negotiation process was highly advantageous. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be even to where we are now.
Yeah. And do you mind just pulling up the, I can pull up the attachment one more time. I just wanted to see what they were paying again. So line 3 is what our planner, that's what Leah would have charged
This,
on L6 or
sorry,
whatever.
these are the 2 amounts that we are paying,
Okay.
depending if you're family or single, from an employee side.
Uh-huh.
And then down here is what we'd be looking at paying on what we're asking for approval for. There are a lot of other options and things, like I said, that we searched out, but this one allowed us that avenue to help some of the sports staff who have brought up that exact concern that Linda had brought up.
That there's a more viable option for them to afford.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you, Kendra. Chad, and then Linda.
My question would be, do we normally offer contracts before this stuff is finalized?
Contracts to teachers you're talking about?
Well, because we already offered, teachers are offering a contract, correct?
Yes, those are officially out.
I mean, normally, any job I took before, you knew what your insurance was going to cost you and stuff before you got a contract to a job.
Yeah, so we have to release, if you go back, I think in January, administrator contracts have to be decided if they're renewed or non-renewed. That non-renewed by the time the end of January rolls around. So those folks are kind of already accepted contracts way before insurance raises or anything like that. Then state statute takes you to the teachers. You've got teachers who need to have that date out by May 15th. So I've got to have those contracts released, whether we've done our stuff or not. And then the next timeline is the support staff. They basically need their letters of assurance and assignment by the last day of work in order for us to be covered with regard to unemployment issues.
So then is there a way that we can get this next time it comes up that it's done before we offer contracts?
It's going to be difficult only because the companies who do the bidding want to get as much claims data as they can to forecast what your rates are. And the claim lag is typically about 6 months. So even for this quote, when we went out to bid, in March, mid to late March roughly. And by the time they get their bids and all that, it's the end of April. But they are only able to get claims data at that point that's completely closed out through, I believe, January. And so, like I said, it's the longer they wait, the better the picture they have. So nobody will want to put, for example, a bid together in January because of the claims lag that they would have.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but that's part of the reason why it's
So
on the way.
I guess even if we're talking about wages next meeting, why is it next meeting we're talking about it, not the meeting before you offer the contracts?
We wanted to see too how the insurance was gonna come out. For that, we wanted to see how the insurance was gonna come out. Contract, like Eddie said, with the statutory language of renewals and non-renewals for administrators and teachers, that's designed to, if somebody's getting non-renewed or if they want to resign, it gives them plenty of time to look for another position. That's early in the year. All of this stuff happens later in the year, so I think that's the order that's probably most advantageous for us, is to figure out what we're going to be paying for benefits before we can decide what the amount is going to be for the contract.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. Linda, you got a follow-up?
Yeah, just, so like I think the administrative raises and stipends and merit pays have already gone out, right? We already approved those? We did? Okay. Yeah, so I guess my next thing is for the teachers and support staff, is it possible to extend the date that they have to sign their contract without penalties, so they know that the financials are on the table before they go ahead and sign their contracts with us?
They're signing the contract, they can always, they've got until Wednesday for liquidated damages without penalty.
They've got till the end of the day on the 15th, which is ironically the day before the board meeting.
Well, that doesn't really, I mean, you can't extend it any longer than that, because,
Well, I'm not saying we can't, I'm just telling you what it is right now.
I mean, because if somebody doesn't want to stay here because they can get a better deal somewhere else, we're tying them to a contract, and then you want to charge them additional money to leave the district to go somewhere else, if they don't sign by the 15th of June.
That's how the contract has been historically, and that is how it is set up. Yes.
And
It can change, it could have no liquidated damages if we wanted to. That's really a board decision. You can even, you can do this very differently. You could literally, there are districts who approve raises in February, March. It's a matter of where you are with your priorities, your confidence in your budget. There are districts that do that. It just depends. Now, again, on a biennial budget year like this year, for example, districts are probably more hesitant to do that, but even those that do, they would have to realize that somewhere the rubber meets the road. If they've already allocated X dollars to salaries, benefits, so on and so forth, and whatever comes in from the legislature is less, then the money's got to come from somewhere. It's either fund balance, building projects, bigger ticket items, technology. Those are places where you have to be willing to pull the money later if you already went and obligated yourselves via contract. Again, not saying you can't do it. It's just a matter of how you want to operate as a board and what you kind of want to set yourself up for. Because once those contracts go out the door, there's no coming, no taking back. They're official, binding, they're ready to roll. So.
Right, I understand that, but I mean, if we're gonna offer them a certain amount for a raise, or we ain't offering them a raise, and we go ahead and do this health insurance, and they only have a time frame to sign that contract, but then they're not gonna be able to make it work here because financially, they need to leave, we're putting those people in a hardship also. So that's just where I'm coming from. It's just, I mean, to be fair, I guess, to our staff members and employees, that we do it the right way. And I don't know what way that would be, but, you know, I wouldn't want to sign a contract and then be stuck here and be financially strapped.
Yeah, and again, we focus a lot on this column here on the table. There's a lot of folks who don't use their full health insurance, they don't use their deductible. That's actually a lot of people, like I go as far as the majority of our high cost claimants. We've got 9. We're costing about $2.2 million right now. When you look at a couple of these other columns, for example, right now it costs somebody $2,800 a year for their actual contribution. If they go onto the narrow network plan next year, it's actually about $800 less if they're not big insurance users. It just depends where you are on that spectrum. And I do want you guys to know too, we talk about this a lot at the committee level, but narrow network probably has a little bit of a negative connotation. Narrow now is not what narrow has historically been. So there are other providers, if you will, even in the narrow network, besides just Cyrus and Ascension. So I think people are going to find a lot of value in it and a lot of opportunity once they learn more about it and get into it.
Thanks, Eddie. I'll get you on the hot seat.
Candy with a follow-up.
Obviously started getting bids in March, which is honestly quite an advanced time frame. And with the broker that we work with, do they have a deadline to work with the insurance carriers and when to provide a quote by? And is that something that we could shorten? So, I mean, obviously it doesn't help in this situation, but maybe in the future it could be a better situation of having a final option to look at sooner.
We can certainly try. When we had a conversation with them, they said they need about between 3 to 4 weeks for people to be aware of the bid, get the materials ready, get it back to them, and then for them to release, for M3 to go through on our behalf and tear each of the plans apart, because they're going to send a lot of multi-page documents with a lot of unique rules, things, tricks, all that kind of fun stuff, and they've got to tear it apart. And that's when you look at the sheet here, and this was shared with the committee and staff for 1 yards, but these little yellow boxes that they put in here, it takes a lot of time to search through those documents and hunt them all down. But that's when they need time. It takes about a week, so by the time they do 3 weeks of bidding, a week for them to put it together, quickly a month goes by.
Yep.
We would have actually been a month ahead this year. One of the challenges was we wanted to explore that captive option because they were not able to get the information from WA. They were not willing to share it. And so that took probably an extra 2 weeks. And people on the phone talking, attorneys from WA were kind of advising them not to, so on and so forth. But that was an additional 1 month delay this time around that I don't think we have in the future. Does that make sense? Because we had the majority of this ready to go at HR Finance in April. It was just a matter of wanting to know for sure that we had exhausted all viable options for both a good long-term strategy for the staff. So,
Thank you, Andrew. Mr. Smith?
Just to follow up to that delay, if I understood you, and I think I understood it correctly at committee, the delay itself created an incentive for carriers to come back and bid considerably lower than they originally had because they anticipate are perhaps interested in breaking away from carriers altogether. And if we hadn't done that, there would have been a 16%.
we would have found, we had another option that wasn't quite as high, but again, when you look at this sheet here with all the yellow on it, and that was going to be offered by Security Health Plan, we actually got it right here somewhere. When we start scrolling on those Security Health Plans, there gets to be a lot of yellow, a lot of cold days for everyone here. And that's kind of where the direction we were going to go down. And on top of that, there was no security or emergency clinic hospital presence in, I think, 5 of the townships around us: Tomahawk, Merrill, Anago, I don't forget 2 of the other ones, Stevens Point, so on and so forth, where there's no hospital. You have to either be in Aqua or you've got to be in Wausau to have Marshfield hospital presence.
Yeah, I guess that's the point of trying to just at least emphasize on Eddie's behalf, is that if you didn't take that 1 month to then renegotiate, the actual percentages of which the premiums would have went up are significant, and we wouldn't have been able to offer options that didn't have a net increase of a great amount on their checks. So it worked to the district's benefit to delay the 30 days and saved everybody money.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any additional questions on this topic or motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Kendra abstains. Motion carries on a voice vote. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Next item, we're turning to Board of Education business. We'll move to the Guardian voluntary benefits renewal, the topic summary sheet from Eddie then, and a recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? John?
I recommend a motion to approve the renewal contract with Guardian for voluntary benefits as presented.
Motion from John, do we have a second? Second by Nubbs. Do we have any discussion or questions on this topic or motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Kendra abstains. Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item is the support staff roster. Topic summary sheet provided by Eddie then, and a recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
I recommend a motion to approve the support staff letters of assurance and/or assignments for the 2021-2022 fiscal year as presented.
We have a motion by Brett. Do we have a second? Second by Ron. Any discussion or questions on this topic or motion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda this evening is the approval of student handbooks planners for the 2021-2022 school year for elementary, middle, and high school. There was attached drafts for these handbooks or agendas for each of the 3 levels, and the recommended motion from the CTP committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Ron?
Make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 student handbook agendas for elementary, middle, and high school.
Motion by Ron. We have a second by Nubbs. Any discussion or questions on this motion or topic this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda this evening is the approval of the Washington, D.C. and New York City trip with an attached topic summary sheet from Ryan Martinovich and Jolene Wicks, with a recommended motion from our CTP committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Nubbs?
Motion to approve the 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C.
and New York City for June of 2022. We have a motion by Nubs. Do we have a second? We have a second by Linda. Any question or discussion on this topic or motion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda this evening is the approval of the open enrollment applications. We had a memo from Karen Baker and the recommendation for 2 separate motions. Is anyone willing to make a motion this evening? Ron?
Make a motion to approve the 377 new students open enrollment to MAPS, deny the 2 applications that do not meet the open enrollment district criteria, and also approve the 694 open enrolled students continuing at MAPS.
We have a motion by Ron. Do we have a second? Second by Brett. Any discussion or questions on this motion or topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on the voice vote. Do you have a second recommended motion? Do we have that motion as well this evening? Kendra?
I recommend a motion to approve 85 new students indicating open enrollment out of MAPS, deny the 4 applications that do not meet open enrollment district criteria, but also approve the 106 open enrollment students continuing to open enroll out of MAPS.
We have a motion by Kendra. Do we have a second? Second by Ron. Any discussion, questions on this motion or topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda this evening is the face covering guideline review. Just a reminder, back in our January 27th regular board meeting, the board motioned to have a review of the statewide face covering mandate at our May regular board meeting. And here we are. We do have a attached topic summary sheet from Dr. Samuel. And we do have a possible motion. Would anyone like to make a motion prior to discussion? John?
I motion to cease the face mask requirement for both indoor and outdoor use, making such wearing optional for all students and staff of MAPS effective immediately.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second? Second by Brett. Any discussion or questions on this topic? Or motion, Ron?
John, are you saying it like tomorrow?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Or after the motion.
Okay. I guess I just assume until the end of the school year, it's only another week.
I understand some people feel that way.
What's that?
I understand some people feel that way.
Linda?
Yeah, let's just get rid of these things. Quite a few of our employees have gotten their vaccine already. And I think it's just gonna be what it is, and let's just go back to life. Get rid of these masks. I mean, they're the most uncomfortablest things ever, and I can't imagine having to wear them all day while you're teaching either. That's gotta be difficult.
Thank you, Linda. We have Brett, followed by Chad.
I think it's important to note that the motion is a little bit different than what maybe was written in here, and it's optional, so if people want to continue wearing them, they certainly have that right to do so. If they don't feel they want to, they don't have to. I like the option of it. It's individual choice. Depending on circumstance, if they've been vaccinated or not, it's their prerogative what's best for their health.
Thank you, Brett. Chad?
Because my thing would be, whatever, right now the CDC said if you're fully vaccinated, you don't need to wear one. The way that we can enforce that, with staff, most staff is, staff, and I guess, and some of your older students are vaccinated now, that they have that option, or they aren't required to wear one, but if you're not, you still have to wear one at least till the end of the year.
There are ways to have either friendly amendments to things, if everyone would agree to that, there are motioning parties, otherwise, the motion would stand, and then you would have to vote the way you feel on that. If enough people through dialogue had asked for a friendly amendment to change the optional date starting after the vote versus a different point in time, we could do that.
I didn't hear what you said.
If you want, you can change it and amend it to something different or keep it as is if you like.
So at this point, we do have a motion that we're discussing. So if we wanted a friendly amendment and you would speak specifically to the motion and the motioners, which are Mr. Smith and Mr. Waller, and they agreed to a friendly amendment of a different time frame other than optional starting immediately, then that would be the motion. Otherwise, you would be inclined to vote in opposition of that.
I would like to make a motion that
We have one motion, so you can ask for a friendly amendment, otherwise we have to vote on that first, Chad, and then I would come back.
just make it friendly.
Or you could ask to do an amendment and then have a second, and we could vote on the amendment.
I guess do a friendly motion or.
So let's start with asking, are you willing to modify the date for your motion and the second to a date other than effective immediately?
No.
Well, then we would be asking if you wanted to make an actual amendment. The motioner is not looking to have a friendly amendment to adjust the date, so if you would like to ask for an amendment to adjust the date and have a second, we can do that. And we would vote on that first and then go to the actual motion as amended or not amended.
I ask for amendment to change the date.
Instead of effective immediately, Chad, to effective at what date?
I would say at the end of the school year.
So on or about June 1st?
Yes, June 1st.
So we have a motion for an amendment to adjust the motion for a start date of said motion to be June 1st versus effective immediately. Motioned for the amendment by Chad. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ron. We're going to vote on the amendment first. Anyone have any questions on what the amendment is that we're voting on? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. Nay. I believe it was a nay. If you would like a roll call vote for clarification, Tammy, if you did not hear the same thing, I had 3-5, but we could have a roll call for clarification on the amendment, please. So we are still voting on the amendment. All those will be listed, and you will vote aye if you are looking to have the amended version, which is conditional use of masks to not be optional until June 1st. Tammy, on a roll call, please.
Jared Krieger.
Aye.
Ron Liberty.
Aye.
Heather Osmus. Nay. John Smith.
Nay.
Brett Waller.
Nay.
Wendy Dingley.
Nay.
Bob Zashbeck.
Aye.
And I'm a nay. So at this point, we do not have an amendment. We still have a motion. Do we have any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the MAPS Head Start duration waiver with the topic summary sheet from Jill Seaman and a recommended motion from our Head Start Policy Council. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
Recommend motion to approve the MAPS Head Start duration waiver.
Motion by Brett. Do we have a second? We have a second by Nubbs. Any questions or discussion on this topic or motion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the 2021-2022 summer maintenance projects with an attached topic summary sheet from Dale Bergman and a recommended motion from our facilities committee. Do we have a motion this evening? John?
Motion to approve the summer maintenance projects for 2021-2022 as funding allows.
Motion by John. We have a second. Second by Brett. Any discussion or questions on this topic or motion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Our next item on our agenda this evening is the transportation contract renewal with an attached topic summary sheet from Dale Bergman and a recommended motion from our facilities committee. Do we have a motion? Nubbs?
I move to approve the 3-year transportation contract as presented with One North Bus Service.
We have a motion by Nubbs, a second by Linda. Any discussion or questions on this motion or topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the core knowledge language arts resource for all K through 5 with an attached topic summary sheet from Glenda Oczynski and a recommended motion from our CTP committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Ron?
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the core knowledge language arts resources for grades K-5 in the amount of $169,626.04 to be paid from the 2021-2022 budget.
Motion from Ron. Do we have a second? John? The motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on this topic or motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the Mimik Foundation grant donation. Attached, we have the donation form and information from Heather Skutek regarding the funds from the Mimik Foundation for the Future of Education valued at $10,000 for technology at K. Goodrich Elementary. due to the fact that this donation is over the $2,500 limit set in policy 7230. This donation comes in front of the board for separate approval, and we'd be looking for a motion this evening. Do we have that motion? Kendra?
I recommend a motion to approve the donation of funds from the Mimik Foundation valued at $10,000 for technology at Cape Goodrich Elementary School.
Motion by Kendra, do we have a second? Second by Nubbs. Any questions on the topic or motion this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is policy review. Was at the board member's request to add the item this evening with the recommendation to combine bylaws 0112 titled purpose and bylaw 0123 philosophy of the board. Do we have a motion this evening? John?
I recommend motion to combine bylaw 112 and bylaw 123 into one bylaw called 0112 purpose of the board.
Motion by John. Do we have a second? Second by Ron. Any discussion or questions on this topic or motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. This time I'd like to go back in our agenda a little bit and invite, for recognition purposes, our Harding School Board Student Board Representative Levi Black to the stage to be recognized. Levi?
Thank you, Levi. We look forward to you and your Student Board of Education report this month, along with Amelia. Thank you. We wish you well in your future. Thanks for all the time you spent on that board. Anything you'd like to share with the board? Good job, Scott.
I'd just like to say thank you. This isn't something that initially I thought like would be super fun. Because it gets really long sometimes, but it's enjoyable. And like I got to learn a lot about how the school board works. I've been able to see different parts of the school and understand more about it and the learning process. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Levi. Like I said, we appreciate your insight each month and to hear from the students and that boots on the ground in each classroom and all the activities going on. So thanks again for your participation.
Next on our agenda, we'll head back to board business. Facility and transportation updates. We had a topic summary sheet from Dr. Sample as well as Dale Bergman, the recommended motion. We have that motion, or on motion this evening. Kendra?
I recommend a motion to approve funding in the amount of $37,800 for moving expenses and a one-time expenditure not to exceed $180,000 for building remodels as presented to reconfigure areas for new building configurations.
Motion by Kendra, do we have a second? By Nubbs, any discussion or questions on this topic or motion this evening? Chad?
I know the moving expenses would have been, was the building remodels known before the closures were brought up that there was going to be, needed to be done?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last portion yet.
I understand that there would have been always moving expenses with closing, but the remodels, and that's one of the reasons why I emailed, I guess surprised that that wasn't in advance known until now.
The dollar amounts, we're not sure until we could place our teachers in our buildings and our teachers in our classrooms and then our support staff in our buildings as well, so.
Yeah, but I mean that we have to remodel or reconfigure schools for this closure. So we basically have to spend money to save money, I guess. But
We had anticipated some costs all along to make the best learning environments for our students. And we really couldn't do it until now, until we got, there's a lot of work to get us to this point. So yes, remodeling the front of the office, making sure everybody has adequate classroom space, office space, those types of things. So we knew that some of those costs were going to have to happen. We certainly were aware of the moving costs, like you said, but we also knew that remodeling costs were going to have to happen. We're trying to make the best learning environments that we can for our students and our best teaching environments for our teachers.
thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Additional questions on this topic or motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I'll ask at this time if anyone would like anything pulled from the consent agenda this evening. Otherwise, I would ask for a motion. John?
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through E, which includes the minutes of April 21st, 2021 and April 26th, 2021 meetings, second readings, and approval of policies 3213 and 4213, student supervision, policy 5335, food allergies, special dietary needs, and policy 5350, student suicide. Claims, vouchers, and receipts totaling $3,398,043.40. Personnel report as presented, and donations totaling $1,505.
We have a motion by John. Do we have a second? Second by Kendra. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions? Linda?
I'm going to abstain from the April 26th meeting minutes.
Thank you, Linda. Any additional? Chad?
I'm going to abstain from the April 21st board members' minutes.
Thank you. Motion carries with the noted abstention standing. Items for future meetings, we have this as a placeholder, as a reminder that you can contact Dr. Sample and myself for agenda items, as well as committee members, specifically committee chairs, as those are determined in the next meeting. If anyone had any discussion points for the good of the order this evening to add for future meetings, we could go through them at this time. Does anyone have any topics that they would like noted? Seeing no hands up at this time, we will have a reminder of the radio schedule tomorrow on May 20th at approximately 8:15 a.m. on Blue Jay 730 radio. Dr. Sample and I will be reviewing tonight's board meeting. Future meetings do include the School Forest Advisory meeting on Monday, May 24th at 4 p.m. up at the School Forest. Finance HR Committee meeting Wednesday, June 2nd at 4:30 p.m. in the boardroom. The BVA Governance Board meeting next convene on Thursday, June 3rd, 12:45 p.m. by virtual meeting. Our CTP, or Curriculum Technology People Services Committee meeting will be Wednesday, June 9th at 4:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Maple Grove Governance Board meeting will be Monday, June 14th at 6 p.m. out at Maple Grove. The next regular board meeting will be held at Wednesday, June 16th, 5:30 p.m. back at Central Office in the boardroom. At this time, we have a contemplated motion to adjourn into executive closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes under section 19.85, C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal history or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where B applies, which, if discussed in public, be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. The purpose of the closed session is to discuss the superintendent's formative evaluation feedback for the evaluation process. Do we have that motion this evening? Motion by Brett. Do we have a second? Second by Nubbs. Tammy, could I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Jack Krieger. Ron Liberty.
Aye.
Kendra Austin. Aye. John Smith.
Aye.
Brett Waller.
Aye.
Linda Yingling. Aye. Doug Zashbeck.
Aye.
Kevin Blake.
Aye. At this time, we will take a brief recess as we head to our closed session. It is my understanding that we will adjourn directly from closed session, so thank you everyone for your attendance this evening.